Part 8. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 71. Chapter 71 Explanation of Misunderstanding. If Yezikin was concerned but confused at the beginning, as smart as he is, he should have known the moment he saw Yewei happily throwing herself into his arms that she was deliberately lying. Can't break free, or in other words, are not willing to break free at all. He lowered his head, his long eyelashes swept across his eyelids, his jade-like chin rested on Yewei's head, and his dark pupils were deep. The only night. Little liar. The final sound of the teeth brushing the tip of the tongue is like a feather gently brushing the heart, which is extremely attractive. I'm sorry, brother, I didn't mean to lie to you, I just want to see you so much. Yewei even thought that if this reason could not deceive Yezikin, she would go to the building to guard her. When I saw him, I ran towards him without hesitation, then boldly threw myself into his arms, hugged him tightly and never let go. This is the only thing I want to do most in my heart. Just like now, the moment I hugged him for real, my heart felt sweet. And what about Yezikin? He has been sulking alone for so long. He has thought about questioning, punishing, and even thinking about hiding the person so that she can only have him in her heart and eyes. But in the end, all the evil thoughts were swallowed up in her soft voice and innocent tone. Yezikin took her into the car, and the hand on her slim waist suddenly tightened, and even his tone turned into a malicious threat. You'd better explain to me clearly what happened between you and that boy named Han Matter. The only person in the night raised his hand weakly. One day I was practicing in a pavilion near the villa. It rained accidentally. I wanted to run back, but who knew, a bolt of lightning came down and split a large branch. I was scared at the time. I was frightened and did not dare to go back. I don't dare to go back by myself. Yewei had already shrunk his neck when he said this. Why don't you call me? I'm afraid of delaying your affairs. So you just called someone else? Yezikin's eyes were sharp, as if he would eat her up in one bite if she dared to nod. Fortunately, Ye was the only one who had some sense left, and shook his head like a rattle. No, Han Xingyi just called me at that time, and I just said it. I really didn't ask him for help on purpose. It was clear that this was the truth, but Yewei's voice became smaller and smaller, as if he felt guilty. But he still bravely confessed, Han Xingyi invited me to watch the band perform the next day. I didn't want to agree at first. She looked up at Yezikin and emphasized the words, I don't want to agree. Haha, Yezikin sneered. The only thing that occurred to Ye was that it was even more unreasonable to lie about it later. But because I promised to repay the favor when he helped me, I simply agreed to watch his band play. You need to lie to me to repay your favor. Did he teach you this? No. I felt that her mouth was dry now, and she really wanted to pour herself a belly of cold water to calm down her shock. Yes, it's me. So you think I will definitely not agree to your request and would rather lie to me for another man? Then, if I say it, will my brother agree? Dream. He spat out two words coldly, and Yezikin's face turned even darker. Yewei was anxious. She tugged on Yezikin's sleeves and looked at him with pursed lips. Brother, the little bell was not intentional. I will never do it again, brother, please forgive me. Is it okay? Tanabatan knocked on the blackboard. Remember to sign in every day in the book review area. At the end of the month, you have to reward. Please give me some recommendation votes. Well, let me brainwash you and recommend green plum in hand, bamboo horse with carefree. It shouldn't be too sweet or too doting. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 72. Chapter 72 Childhood Sweethearts. If you can get first place in the competition, let's talk about it. Yezikin began to act aloof. The only time Yaya heard the inscription first place in the competition, his hands couldn't help but tremble, and he stammered, I, 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 I will work hard. She will work hard to become excellent, so that she can be qualified to be close to the person she looks up to. He fell into Yezikin's arms just to hide the blush on his face. Soon, the students of Xinjiao Academy discovered that their night boy, night boss, and night schoolboy had finally returned to school after more than a week. The only person I saw during the whole week-long gloomy night was a warm smile, and I also gave them imported snacks distributed to the whole class. Gongkinli walked away one package after another like a thief, sighing as she ate, "Ka, why don't I have a brother? It doesn't matter if my mother doesn't give me a brother, nor will my childhood sweetheart find one for me." The thief is so heartbroken. Luli, if you really want to settle it, aren't you and your brother childhood sweethearts? Ye Weiwei said this simply. She, Yezikin, and Gongkinli grew up together, so it's okay to say they were childhood sweethearts. But when Gongkinli heard this adjective, she almost got stuck in her throat with the snacks she had eaten. She pointed at Ye Wei and complained, "You must want to scare me to death so that you can inherit my snacks." Ye Weiwei innocently spread his hands, "But Li Yulai, the snacks in your hand belong to me. You, I really can't stand you guys showing off your affection. Hey, don't talk nonsense." Ye Weiwei was so shy that she blushed. Because Amayachiri has never treated the two of them as siblings since she was a child, and every time she teases their relationship, it's like teasing a couple. What kind of show of affection is it? It's so embarrassing for others to hear. Hey, I'm not talking nonsense. Remember to give me a matchmaker's money when you get married, and remember to ask me to be your godmother when you have a child. Luli, Ye Wei stood up with a red face and covered her mouth. Please stop talking nonsense. The person next door vaguely heard some key words about marriage and children, and glanced around Ye Weiwei and Gongkinli with some deep meaning. I don't know why, one morning later, the topic of Ye Weiwei's puppy love broke out on campus. If she hadn't been here considering her age, she might even have gotten the message about abortion. That man was so stupid that he even made trouble to slander Ye Wei in front of Yezikin. He was quickly caught, severely punished, and fired. Because of Yezikin's decisive style, Gongkinli turned into a little fangirl to brainwash Ye Wei. Brother Chen is really handsome, and he loves Wei very much. You guys are really great. Growing up, Gongkinli felt that the unrelated siblings from the Ye family were a perfect match. Ye Weiwei really couldn't defeat Gongkinli, so he didn't refute, but his face was so red that it started to bleed. Gongkinli suddenly poked Ye Weiwei, and whispered in her ear, "I think your front desk partner, Han Xingyi, is interested in you, so you should pay attention." We are teammates. Ye Weiwei never had any illusions about other people, so she never noticed. Shit, if you treat someone as a teammate, they want to kill you. Besides, Brother Chen will definitely be angry. Ye Wei's heart skipped a beat. All the people of the opposite hanging around Ye Wei were taken care of by Yezikin, and no one was spared. Han Xingyi has not had any problems yet, but would Yezikin let him go so easily? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 73. Chapter 73 Discovery of Yezikin's Medicine. Shit, if you treat someone as a teammate, they want to kill you. Besides, Brother Chen will definitely be angry. Ye Wei's heart skipped a beat. All the people of the opposite hanging around Ye Wei were taken care of by Yezikin, and no one was spared. Han Xingyi has not had any problems yet, but would Yezikin let him go so easily? Why? Gongkinli hugged the snacks and threatened her, causing Ye Wei to suddenly come back to her senses. Ah! Gongkinli came close to her, put one hand on her cheek and smiled quietly at her, "Don't even think about it. I found a newly opened shop near the school. The food there is very delicious. Let's go out together at noon. It's noon. She held her smooth chin in her hand and shook her head. My brother and I made an appointment to have dinner together. Hearing this, Gongkin understood Ye Wei's meaning instantly, and waved her hands in disgust. Forget it, then I'll go find Nangong Luo. I'm sorry, Li Yulai, I've already made an appointment with my brother, how about we go together? Ye Wei winked at her. Gongkin jumped away decisively, crossed her hands in a gesture of rejection, and declared decisively, no. I will never compete with Brother Chen. The class time passed quickly. Ye Wei made an appointment with Yezikin, and Gongkin made an appointment with Nangong Luo, so they could go find someone together. But when I arrived at the high school classroom, I saw that most of the people inside were gone, and there were still a few scattered ones left. Nangong Luo waved to them, but did not see Yezikin. Ye Wei rushed in and asked directly, where is my brother? Nangong Luo sat on the table like an old man, throwing 2 apples in his hand. He placed one in each of Ye Wei and Gongkin hands and said, when get out of class was over, my boss called me to the office. Boss, let's wait a moment. Do. I really want to hear a vibrating sound. I heard it too. The 3 of them looked at each other, and Gongkin pointed to Yezikin's desk. Is it coming from Brother Chen's desk? Ye Wei listened and said, I'll look for it. She reached into the desk and fiddled with it, and sure enough she pulled out a white mobile phone. It's my mother calling. Kaka, Gongkin took a bite of the apple curiously. Do you want to fight it back? Thinking of Madame Yes' recent attitude towards her, Ye Wei shook his head slightly. No. She put the phone back, and her fingers seemed to touch a round object. Yezikin and Ye Wei have been close since childhood, so there is almost no reason for them not to take other people's things and look at other people's things. She touched it again and found a cylindrical object in her hand. Hands spread out and looked, the blue and white lower bottle, was medicine. Yes, only breathing suddenly became heavier, and he turned the bottle in his hand. The boss is back. Nangong Luo, who was sitting on the table in the front row, roared, and Ye Wei held the medicine bottle in panic. Elder brother. She called out brother crisply, and Yezikin stood at the door. His shadow was slender and his posture was tall and straight against the light. Little Bell, come here. He just hooked his fingers, and the originally frivolous movement was made natural and smooth, making it particularly attractive. At this moment, the only one who felt nervous was extremely nervous, and he hurriedly put his hands behind his back. Yezikin turned his eyes and glanced down from Ye Wei's delicate and lovely face, and saw her right foot standing on tiptoe. Ye Wei would do this little thing every time he felt guilty and wanted to hide. He spoke again, come here. You said it was a face-to-face confrontation? Or do you know it all but don't say anything? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 74. Chapter 74, Phone Call Blocking. Under Yezikin's extremely insightful gaze, Ye Wei walked towards him hesitantly. When she was still 1 meter away, she looked back and wanted to find 2 people to back her up. As a result, there were no figures of Gongkin and Nangong Luo anywhere in the classroom. Don't look, they left from behind. Yui. In front of Yezikin, he couldn't hide his little thoughts at all. Little Bell, what's hidden behind it? Yezikin knew there was something hidden behind her just by taking a glance. Ye Wei shook his head, pursed his lips, and refused to speak. Yezikin directly pulled her hand over. Just when Ye Wei thought Yezikin would spread her hand, Yezikin just took one of her hands and held it in his palm. Let's go out for lunch today. Hey, brother, your cell phone is still on the desk. Yezikin's eyes flashed, but he only said, don't worry about it. The 2 of them were especially quiet when they walked hand in hand on campus. Since everyone has something going on in his heart, he needs someone to break the barrier. Ye Wei tightened his hand, but did not take it out in the end. Because when Yezikin called her over for the second time, she wiped the edge of the table and put the things back. But she knew that Yezikin must have discovered something. After that, Ye Wei ran to ask Nangong Luo about Yezikin's illness. Nangong Luo could not give her a satisfactory answer. Oh my God, how can the boss consult with me and other mortals when doing things? After he finished complaining, Nangong Luo pointed Ye Wei in another direction. Guchensi knows about this. Do you remember Guchensi? He's the one I met in the bar last time, the ice cube face. I remember. Does he really know? Yes, he is a doctor. We cannot understand every conversation between those two highly intelligent people. It is simply difficult to communicate with them. My only sister, if you can't get anything out of the boss, then you won't get any benefits from Guchensi. After all, Guchensi's keep away from strangers' face is not superficial. There are very few people he can take a liking to. As for people he doesn't know well, he doesn't want to say a word. It doesn't matter, then I'll go find that Guchensi brother Nangong. Do you have any contact information? Nangong Luo immediately opened his phone and pulled out a string of numbers written on a piece of paper and handed it to her. Here, give. With Nangong Luo's amazing assist, Ye Wei successfully got Guchensi's contact number. It would take a lot of courage to ask her to call a strange man. Ye Wei locked his own phone at home, and after a lot of tangles, he found Guchensi's number and dialed it. Just when I was feeling nervous and my heartbeat was racing, I heard a busy signal. She thought the other party's line was busy, but she called 3 times and found that she was pulled. Black. Got it? Wow, Guchensi really wants to keep strangers away from him, right? She wondered again whether the other party thought it was a harassing call from a stranger. Yayoi irritably grabbed a strand of hair hanging on his shoulders, let go and typed on the screen of his phone, and simply sent a very polite sentence that could identify his identity. After waiting for about 20 minutes, she heard the ding sound of her mobile phone. Guchensi replied. Ye only implicitly expressed her curiosity about Yezikin's health. Guchensi suddenly called her, and the voice that did not call out the temperature seemed to chill her heart. If you want to know, come to the night bar alone. Remember, only you can do it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 75. Chapter 75 Can't Enter the Bar. While Ye Wei was listening carefully to the lecture, Han Xingyi suddenly threw a note from the front. Ye Wei opened it in confusion and read, "Don't forget about practice this afternoon." Ye Wei paused for a moment, picked up a pen and wrote a few words on the back. "No, I have something to do this afternoon." Recently, she has been deliberately avoiding Han Xingyi except for practice. Han Xingyi must have felt it, and he even started playing a note-throwing game with her. Han Xingyi didn't say much after he refused this time. They practice every day, and it's okay for them to miss Ye Wei for one day. Ye Wei spared her original practice time and decided to go to the Yes Bar to find Guchensi. She seems a little restless recently and has done a lot of bold things. The night bar is quite famous. The driver knew the route as soon as she called her name, but the driver looked at her in a very strange way. So much that a very strange thing happened next. Ye Wei never imagined that for the first time in his life, he would take the initiative to go to a bar and be sent to the police station on the way. Police station. The only person she was forced to get out of the car that night was a police officer wearing a regular uniform. She also vaguely heard the kind driver uncle say, "Why do you have to go to a place like that for such a young child?" Yui. She does look too much like a child, doesn't she? She had no choice but to explain to the police uncle for a long time. She blushed when she was anxious, and her cautious look frightened the policeman. "Little sister, Please speak up. Is there any misunderstanding between us about this matter? I'm going to find my brother over there, but I don't remember the name of that place. I only remember that there is a bar called Night over there. Maybe lying is something that happens once and for all. Sometimes, white lies can solve a lot of troubles. Looking at Ye Ziwei's behavior, the playful policeman didn't even feel comfortable letting her go by herself, so he offered to send her there. Ye Ziwei shook his head repeatedly and argued with the police uncle for a long time before he finally made it clear. It's just that things are far more troublesome than this. When Ye Ziwei arrived at the door of the night bar, she was stopped by the waiting waiter at the door. Ye Ziwei realized that there were two ways to enter the night bar. One is the adult ID card, and the other is the SEVIP card. However, she has neither of these two things. She had no choice but to contact Gu Chenxi again, but this time he was picked up quickly. Sorry, excuse me, I can't enter the bar. Hearing what Ye Ziwei said, Gu Chenxi had already expected it. But Gu Chenxi had no intention of helping her. How you get in is up to you. All I promise is to tell you in the bar. Meaning, if Ye Ziwei can't get in, then it's not his fault for not telling her the truth. Ye Ziwei bit her lip and asked, but how do I get the VIP card? That's your business. Gu Chenxi seemed to chuckle. Why, your brother's matter isn't worth your trouble. No, I will do it, as long as you don't regret it. I'll be at the bar, waiting for you. Gu Chenxi was sure that Ye Ziwei would not go to Ye Zikin for help. He also wanted to see how much courage this little girl who became timid because of an accident could muster up for Ye Zikin. Think of a way to get in. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 76. Chapter 76. Failed to borrow VIP card. Ye Ziwei began to worry. She doesn't have much free time to escape without telling others, and her mastery of this kind of social communication skills is almost non-existent. It was impossible to get an adult ID card. After all, she was sent to the police station as a misguided elementary school student 10 minutes ago. As for the VIP card, there are really very few people that Ye knows. After eliminating them one by one, it seems that they can only ask Nangong Luo. Thinking of this method, she smiled widely and quickly tapped the screen to call Nangong Luo. Brother Nangong, do you have a VIP card for the night bar? She said she wanted to borrow it. Hearing what she said, Nangong Luo would naturally ask why. Ye Ziwei thought that she promised Gu Chenxi to go alone, but she didn't say that she couldn't tell others about it, so she just told the whole story clearly for the sake of the VIP card. After hearing this, Nangong Luo said with a strong emphasis, Huh, Ye Ziwei, I didn't know why. You actually have the guts to go to the bar to meet Brother Gu alone. Sister Yi, I really underestimated you before. Just hearing that a good girl like Ye Ziwei took the initiative to go to the bar should be surprising. The key is that she went to the bar to meet Gu Chen West. Gu Chenxi. That man was a few years older than them, because he played a game, but Gu Chenxi had a cold face and a sharp tongue, and not many people had such a good mentality to confront him head on. The only time I want to go is at night. Sister Ye Ziwei, my boss really loves you for nothing. Your spirit of self-sacrifice and dedication is really awesome. Nangong Luo sighed and then realized that it was a bit bad for him to say that to Ye Ziwei. He laughed twice and changed it to, ha, that's so brave. So brother Nangong, can you help me? Nangong Luo suddenly fell silent. Ye Ziwei waited for his answer with bated breath. After a while, he asked cautiously, isn't it possible? Nangong Luo sighed deeply on the other end of the phone. Angry complaints came one after another. It's not that I don't want to, it's just, my old man took my card. The Nangong family is actually a scholarly family worthy of its name, the kind with strict rules. Nangong Luo was very addicted to playing games some time ago, and his spare time life was very romantic. Mr. Nangong Luo was so angry that he confiscated his card that allowed him to enter the bar at will. Nangong Luo also refused at first, but his old man threatened him with his usual huge pocket money, so he obediently handed over the VIP card with both hands. From then on, he always went with Yezikan. I felt a chill in his heart after hearing Nangong Luo's complaints. She looked up at the gilded signboard with the characters Knight, clasping her hands and rubbing them. Guchensi is inside, and the truth about his brother's illness is inside. But she couldn't get in. I regret very much that I did not lay a solid interpersonal foundation in the past, and as a result, I could not even find friends who could help me when something happened. Then, what should I do? What if he gets impatient and refuses to tell me? I'm so worried about my brother. Don't worry, I'll ask other people for you. After that, Nangong Luo started to call several others. Hong-haired Shotagu Li, what? I always followed my brother. Me Kexing, brother, I am very successful abroad. Su Tangzi, sorry, I got stuck some time ago and haven't fixed it yet. Nangong Luo regretfully conveyed these words to Ye Weiwei. Ye lowered his head and looked at his toes in despair. Thank you, I'll think of something else. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 77. Chapter 77, Regret and Never Meet Again. It stands to reason that Miss Yes' identity is very useful, but Ye Wei doesn't dare to use it without telling other people. I didn't expect it would be so difficult to meet Guchensi. You can only enter by yourself if you have an adult ID card, and VIP cards for Yes are rare, so Ye Wei doesn't even think about asking passers-by for help. She had to contact Guchensi again. Yes, I'm sorry, I may not be able to come in for the time being. Hey, if you heard correctly, this chuckle is extremely ironic. Ye Wei was a little scared, afraid that Guchensi would get angry and get angry. Did you promise that you would do it just now? Since you can't do it, there's no need to talk to me about anything else. In Guchensi's mind, except for what he wants to hear and say, everything else is nonsense. Ye Wei felt uneasy. No. I'm just afraid that you'll be impatient with waiting, so I'll think of another way. Guzikan paused for a moment, then regretted and said, No, I don't want to see you today. I don't know why Guchensi suddenly went crazy, so he just hung up the phone with these words. Afterwards, Ye Wei didn't expect this. She thought of Nangong Luo's words. Guchensi was indeed in a very uncertain and difficult situation. But, she won't leave. There was only one exit, so at worst she would have to wait here for Guchensi to come out. The gatekeeper saw a little girl lingering outside and immediately urged her to leave quickly. If you can't get in, don't stay here. Walk around. They are not worried about offending anyone with status, because this little girl looks timid and does not even have a card. She cannot be a child of a wealthy family. Ye Wei knew he was being disliked, so he took 2 steps back and stood aside, holding the cold pillar with his hands. At some point, the sky started to drizzle again. The weather has been changing recently, and soon the light rain turned into a heavy downpour. Passers-by on the street didn't know when they were holding umbrellas and walking in a hurry. Boom! A thunderous thunder exploded on the ground, scaring Ye so much that he reflexively covered his ears with his hands. The heavy rain was accompanied by lightning and thunder, and her memory went back to the day when she saw lightning splitting tree branches with her own eyes. Ye Wei's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. He closed his originally bright eyes and didn't dare to look. He was also afraid of missing Guchensi when he came out. She forced herself to open her eyes and stared at the door of the bar. When the gatekeeper saw her, he still showed no pity. Ye Wei kept telling himself, maybe he will come out after a while. I can't wait for anyone this time, and it will be a big problem if I can't get in touch next time. Thinking of this, she clenched her hands and tried to suppress her fear of being nervous. In fact, she was so nervous that her heartbeat accelerated wildly at the slightest movement. She even kept curling her toes and could not relax her whole body. That feeling of constant vigilance and fear really tests one's spirit. At this moment, an aggressive voice filled Ye's eardrums. "Hey, why are you still standing here and not leaving?" Rain and thunder can easily make people feel irritable, and the gatekeeper even more unkindly regards Yue as a venting point. Looking at a bitter face is disappointing. If you can't get in, stay away. Don't be an eyesore here. Yue bit his lip and didn't know how to refute. Just a chance glance, and at that moment his eyes suddenly widened. She wiped her eyes and actually saw a tall and upright figure appearing across the road. He was holding an umbrella and walking towards her in an orderly manner. He stopped in front of her and slowly raised his umbrella. The falling water drops seemed to pass in front of him, and the delicate and familiar face fell into Yue's eyes. This time, let's make up for it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 78. Chapter 78. The heartbeat of holding an umbrella in the rain. Pedestrians and vehicles seemed to disappear in front of her eyes in an instant, and the miniature reflected in her watery eyes was like a stream of light shooting through the dark clouds, shining brightly. She didn't know how to describe her actions at the moment. She seemed to hear a pounding sound. That feeling was more sudden and intense than ever before. "You came here to get soaked in the rain, are you trying to make me feel bad?" The clean voice seemed to carry a cool breeze, and it was not cold at all when it fell on my ears. Another thunderbolt roared loudly. Yue's body trembled, and the next second he was pulled into a warm embrace. Smelling the familiar fresh mint fragrance, my nervous and trembling heart at that moment returned to calm so quickly. "You are so brave to come to the bar alone, Ye. An unknown smile appeared on his face, and he read the full name in her ear word for word. At this time, Yue couldn't care about that much, so she hugged his waist and refused to let go, shaking her head in his arms. The feeling of her little head rubbing against her made the usually stoic Yezikin feel a fire rising in his heart. "It's not anger, it's hot fire. If you move again, don't blame me for not reminding you what it means to be obedient and obedient." His voice was louder than usual. Because Yue continued to rub against her, Yezikin couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't push the person to the edge of the pillar and kiss him the spot. When he knew that the only person who came to the yes bar was Yesi, he couldn't remain calm. In particular, her purpose here is intriguing. Listening to Yezikin's voice mixed with the sound of dripping rain, Yue's heart felt particularly calm. She asked tentatively, "Brother, do you know what I'm going to do?" "I know." Yezikin lowered his head to the crook of her neck, his eyes opened deep and silent. "Well, brother, can you tell me directly?" "Want to know about my body?" Yue was stunned for a moment. Why was it that something he had avoided mentioning before was suddenly spoken out so bluntly? It's a bit incredible. Yue opened her mouth slightly and expressed her concern honestly. "I want to know, I really want to know." "Why?" "Because I will be worried. Except for Guzikin, who is a doctor, no third person knows about that matter, so in what capacity do you want to share my secret?" "Huh." Yezikin was a little different from usual at this moment, as if a certain restraint that had been pressing on him was suddenly released, and even his emotions were stronger than usual. His meaning is clear: as long as the answer suits his heart, his secret can be shared. Yue hesitated. In just a few seconds, countless thoughts flashed through her mind. Thinking of Yezikin once lowering his head and saying "be my girlfriend" in her ear, thinking of myself like a madman who filled up the name of Yezikin one after another in his notebook, thinking of that fight with Gonkin Li Bet. The final scene was when Madame Ye was sarcastic to her and asked her to keep her distance from Yezikin. Her head suddenly hurt. "You are my brother, I should be worried." "Oh, it's my brother." Yezikin repeated this relationship in a very calm tone. Yes, only unfounded uneasiness was not Yezikin's normal reaction. Yezikin held an umbrella and led her into the rain. The car that Yezikin drove was on the roadside. "Get in." Yezikin opened the car door for her. There was no driver, but just after Ye Weiwei entered, Yezikin also sat in the second row. Bang, the car was rudely slammed shut. The head counting team is reporting. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 79. Chapter 79. After reading a novel? Bang, the car was rudely slammed shut. Ye Weiwei's back was leaning on the car seat, and Yezikin was pressing her. This scene can easily make people imagine. "Brother, brother." She would stutter when she was nervous. Thinking about it, she had not said a few words smoothly from just now to now. Yezikin lifted her chin, a hint of deep meaning flashed in his eyes. "Little Lingdang, why are you nervous?" "No, no." "Have you learned to lie yet?" "No, no. No, no." Ye Weiwei's face turned red at this moment. She knew that her cheeks were hot without touching her face with her hands, and that she was nervous, and it wasn't because of those questions. Doesn't the brother, who has both high emotional intelligence and high IQ, know that the way he is leaning over her now can easily be misunderstood? Stop it. Originally, Ye Yuyi was also very pure, so pure that she never fantasized about things like kissing or falling down. But ever since Yezikin bit her lips and mentioned the girlfriend incident, she often got distracted, and then she drowsily read two of Gong Qinli's romance novels like The Overbearing President Falls in Love with Me at Once. It has caused immeasurable consequences. She puffed out her cheeks, and her bright red face looked like a peach blossom, scorching her beauty. Many people think that Ye Wei's round face is at best worthy of the word cute. That's because they have never carefully appreciated her eyebrows. Her eyebrows are curved, her eyes are big, and her eyelashes are long. Her facial features are actually very delicate. Her sense of comfort is neither too much nor too little, and she also has a special aura. Yezikin's lips curled up into a smile, and he reached out to bring someone into his arms, and touched the soft long hair of a certain little girl with a smoothing hand. The infatuation and possessiveness revealed in his eyes, extremely obvious. The heavy rain outside the car window seemed to disappear all of a sudden. Ye Weiwei, who was so fascinated by the charm of a certain man, suddenly opened his eyes, which were clear and transparent. She pushed Yezikin off twice and made up her mind to explain the matter clearly. "Brother, don't coax me like this." "Huh?" Yezikin seemed not to know the meaning, and his white fingers hooked her long hair and made lingering circles a few more times. His voice was hoarse, like being immersed in the temptation of the dark night. He asked, "If I don't coax you, who can I coax?" This question was the only one I couldn't answer until late at night. "Brother, you clearly know what I mean. Anyway, I can't tell you, so I won't hide it from you." Ye Weiwei, who knew that he had been completely exposed, felt like he was willing to go all out. "I want to know what's wrong with my brother." "Didn't you ask me just now?" "Yes, but my brother doesn't like that answer." "Well, it seems that my little Belle is not hopelessly stupid." Yezikin was in a good mood because he could still find his own mistakes. He still held her in his arms without letting go. He lowered his head to her neck and took a deep breath of the milky fragrance. "The only thing I felt in the night was that my neck was itchy." "Brother, don't always think that I am a child," I said. "I will work hard to grow up, please believe me." She is eager to prove herself, and still writes down accounts as if she is ignorant of the dark side of the world. If you don't let me know about my brother's health, I will still think of other ways. What can you do? I, I can always guard Guchensi. Even if it is thundering or raining, I will never leave. I want to see him and get an answer from him. Yezikin's face suddenly turned ugly. Ye Wei, how dare you say in front of me that you want to guard another man? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 80. Chapter 80. I'm not sick. Yezikin patted Ye Wei's head. The action was actually very light. He lowered his head and his forehead collided with hers. Little Belle, don't check any more about illness. I don't. She felt a little stuffed up in her heart for no reason, and she immediately put her head down. Yezikin squinted his eyes, seeing that the little girl was rarely outspoken and stubborn, as if he had returned to the time when they first met. It's just the fatigue caused by the backlog of work, it doesn't have a big impact. But I saw the medicine bottle, something to regulate qi and relieve pain. At that time, she was so nervous that she only saw the name of the medicine and the first few words of its effect. Later, she checked the name of the medicine bottle, but there was no related search. She felt that the matter must not be simple. Now her brother actually wants to deceive her easily. She will never be treated casually. Institutions. Ye Wei's expression was serious. Yezikin looked at her little expression and couldn't help but let out a very fond laugh. Then he reached out and pinched her little nose. I didn't realize that the most confused little Belle in our family is still like this observant. Ye Wei frowned and said that she would not take things about her brother lightly. I was under too much pressure, and my tired body couldn't be relieved for a while occasionally. My emotional instability caused my heart palpitations, so I just prescribed some medicine to calm my qi. Yezikin's serious explanation reached Ye Wei's ears. He said a few more words about medical knowledge, but Ye Wei couldn't understand it at all. Is it just that? That's not it? We grew up together. When did you see me getting seriously ill? Yezikin held her little hand and touched the tender skin, feeling soft in her heart. Ye Wei thought about it carefully and began to believe Yezikin's words. They grew up together and got along every day. The biggest illness she had ever seen Yezikin suffer from was a cold for a month. Brother Nangong seems to be serious. Hey, he has nothing to do while despising Nangong Luo. Someone made a serious note to Nangong Luo in his heart. Then why is Dr. Guchensi so serious? He has a bad mind and enjoys teasing others. Stay away from him in the future, do you understand? Oh. No wonder he asked her to come to the bar alone before, but then he said he couldn't see her after he came. After Yezikin explained it, Ye Wei completely believed him. She was finally able to relax after being on tenterhooks for several days. The simple little girl did not see the man who was on the top of his head. How much mood hidden in his eyes was turbulent. After bringing Ye Wei home, Yezikin asked the foreigner who was thousands of miles away over the phone about the latest limited edition car. After that, he contacted Mi Kexing, who was far away from home and had a successful career abroad, and asked him for a beautiful assistant. Mi Kexing, who has been dressing up as a woman since childhood, has mostly women in her family. This does not mean that her private life is chaotic. It can be said that their entire Mi family is a bit like the daughter country, in short, except for Mi K. Yezikin asked for a beautiful woman with big breasts, thin waist, sweet and clingy voice from Mi Kexing, and spent a minute alone with her. A minute later, the beautiful lady waved to Yezikin with a smile. Half an hour later, Guchensi, who was sitting in the hospital office treating patients, was flirted with by a beautiful woman. The beautiful woman is truly a goddess. She also flirted with Bing Shanlian in various ways, and her voice when describing her illness was so loud that Bing Shanlian was stunned and ran away with a pale complexion. 1. Regarding physical problems, Brother Chen hid it. 2. Brother Chen has a certain attitude towards everyone who has contact with Ye. Now there is only one Han Xingyi who has not moved, Hee hee, no spoilers. End of this chapter.